Right, well, it's Thursday evening. Marc's weekly catch up. We're protected by the weather, which is a good thing because it's been all over the shop today, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Undercover though, which is unlike last week. We're covered though, which is good. Good to see you, Marc. We'll just
Yeah,
start.
mate.
We'll just start for the usual recap. We'll look back at last Saturday. Obviously, a momentous day. Obviously, welcoming Wrexham here. Massive occasion. Obviously, we're disappointed with the result. Naturally, just get your take and your thoughts looking back on last Saturday. Yeah.
Obviously, it's really you want to just sort of like say write it off 5-0, etc. Maybe just, I don't know, be a bit what the word is about it. Just kind of get rid of it really. But the fact of the matter is, it was a really bizarre one. For the second week running, we had 67% possession across 90 minutes and lost 5-0. It was unbelievable. And yet again, obviously getting punished in the final third. But I do think it was a game that got away from us. I thought it was competing really well and on top, it must be said, when before Ed Harris gets taken off, and Ed got took off, and something like 15 minutes later, we're 3-0 down. In hindsight, I made a really bad substitution at that point. Because we was on top, I took that choice of putting Bobby on or putting Jimmy on and pushing Bob back into that back three, knowing it was an overload against them, knowing that we were using it really well at the time. So I sort of done the typical saw blood thing, thinking, do you know what, they've dropped off us, put Bobby there. But before the game, hence the fact Dan G played on the left, we'd already identified if we didn't have height, it would be a big issue in this game. And I took off the height. Ed obviously came off that was forced on us, and then the right substitution would have been Sammy, to be quite frank, and keep the height on. And I think if we do that, to be honest, I don't think we can see the first goal even. Experienced player, leader, physical. So it was a bad choice of sub. I'll take that one for sure. 3 goals, it's like a real sort of combination, wasn't it? A 1-2-3, game over. Yeah. Continued to dominate the ball. They sat in and done what quality teams do, really. But we need to be realistic. It's hard to talk up a 5-0 defeat. Borderline embarrassing, but we did have, across 90 minutes, 67% of the ball against Wrexham. We've also put more balls in the box than any team in the division. We're the number one at the amount of balls we put in the box, opposition box, right? So my point is, we have to be realistic. There are, between both boxes, there are a load of positives. Despite our injury woes, there's loads of positives. It's in both boxes at the moment. We've got a fix. Don't think it's a quick fix, mate. I'll be honest. I think we're ravaged with injuries. I'm sure we'll come on to that. And it might take a while, but you know what we're like here. All of us lot. We rebuild, and we do things our way, and we're pretty good at coming out on top. But frankly speaking, it's a good time to play us, to be quite frank. But Wrexham, credit to the two owners, Ryan and Rob, for engaging in the game and applauding us. The fans that come all the way up from North Wales, that were so well behaved and enjoyed themselves. All the local people from Dorking that came out for the game, and we want that to be normal. Notts County down here next, and we want that to be normal. What we guarantee here is that we will deliver a team that can compete. No question, that will happen at some point, and we're rebuilding.
Absolutely, and we have to reconcile, as you say, the performances with who we've been up against in these last few games, of course, guys at the top end of the division. Yeah. So on the injuries front, obviously, I guess we'll kind of work from front to back here and just go through the team and just see where we're at. Obviously, we start with Alfie, Rutherford. Really, 10 minutes to go last week, wasn't it? And just obviously went down on the surface there. What's the latest with Alfie?
Well, latest is 95% season over, ACL. Confirmed tomorrow by a scan, but at the minute he done it, I never sit down the dugout ever, and I sat straight down because I knew it was the exact same motion as the other ones. We've had 4, I think maybe 5.
Similar to obviously what's happened with Matt Briggs previously, is
all
what
down
we're
here.
saying.
Samuel Ab, all the same sort of movements, just foot planted, slight turn. These pitches they've not mastered that one yet, these pitches, I'm afraid. It's 100% the pitches. Yeah. You don't get it. You don't get as many of those on a grass pitch in a month of Sundays. Devastated for Alfie, and he's such a good lad. And obviously, it's a big player for us. We need to be realistic, but he's written off for the season now. The plan would be, for anyone that follows it, Alfie's due heart surgery. He couldn't make it up, could you? He was due heart surgery at the end of the season.
Yeah.
So the plan probably, once it's confirmed, will be to a bit like a car at the garage, put him up on the ramp and do all of it. And then hopefully we get him back. Well, we will get him back. And he'll be a fit version, mate. But it's a real bitter pill for everybody around the club. And of course, Alfie and his family, who are great people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we do wish Alfie all the best. Yeah, was really overshadowed really early on the pitch last week in many ways.
Yeah, big time.
So to go back to because of the midfield area, Josh Taylor missed out last week, didn't he? And I know out wide, Nicky Wheeler absent. Jimmy Mewett obviously frustrating because he did come back in, Jimmy, didn't he, against Solihull, but then he's had a bit of a setback there. So in terms of the midfield area, Mark, where are we at there? There's a few there. It's
a disaster to be quite frank. You know, McManus is injured.
Yeah, and Niall as well, of course. Yes, yeah.
McManus is injured. Jimmy's injured again. Jimmy Mewett. Josh Taylor's injured. It is bare bones as bare bones can be at the moment, I'm afraid. And obviously, I'm sure we'll come on to it, but I bought in Alfie Egan. That kind of worked really well for us because obviously we need to rebuild this year, and he would have been one of those targets that really suit us. So we just kind of accelerated that thanks to Bournemouth for being supportive there. What else we got? There's so many, I forget how many injuries.
Well, those ones in midfield we mentioned there, we're talking in terms of timescales. Is it just a matter of weeks, or any particular ones that you're concerned it goes into sort of longer than that?
Hoping Taylor may be back for Notts County. We'll have to see. It's a slow burner. Niall and Jimmy, outside chance for Tuesday, but you'd be rushing them probably. We'll have to see how Saturday goes with the rest of them. So it's not a good look at the moment, really.
Of course, and then just at the back there, just to touch on again, obviously Ed went off early, as you mentioned, of course, went off early on in the game. Isaac was absent, and obviously Dan Lincoln as well. I know he's again, it's in a situation where he's on the verge of coming back into the frame, but then had the setback. So how are we looking at in the defensive side of things? I know Ed, obviously, there was a knock in the game, wasn't it? So hopefully Ed's.
Dan should be back Saturday. Dan Lincoln, which is great, positive for the club.
Brilliant.
And Ed is 50-50. Ed Harris just needs some swelling to go down a bit more on that eye. Yeah. I really thought that made a big difference in that game Saturday. I think it made a massive difference. Yeah, that and my
as you mentioned with the time frame, what happened there in the wake of that, the way he started the game, Ed, as well, in terms of matching up with the guys. Exactly.
Winning his battle. It made a big difference in the game. That's where we are right now. I made a comment after the game that the FA didn't like. I won't repeat it because they told me not to. The FA don't like too much. But what I meant by that was we're not having a lot of luck at the moment. That's what I meant. But it's okay because the supporters are right behind us. You know, people that don't know anything about the club might think, oh, blimey, Dorking, blah, blah, blah. But listen, I have no concerns whatsoever that we'll have our day in the sun this year. We'll have some great days. We are rebuilding. That's the bottom line. Isaac, going back to your point, got a bad back.
Yeah.
So we're hoping to get him back as well. Hoping 50-50. So I think we'll have about 13 available, and about 7 of those will be defenders. But obviously we'll still play a back three somehow.
Just a final one with the injuries, just a final one just to mention there. Callum Kennedy, I know he's not featured too much this season. Where's Callum at? Because I know he's...
one of them frustrating... Good question. One of them frustrating ones because, obviously he ticks all the boxes. 400 Football League games, experienced, leader, talks, good footballer, really good footballer. But he's just not got going. Just when he was about to feature, he kept getting little niggles.
Seems to be these little setbacks, isn't it, with Callum?
Setbacks, and then what happens is, as time elapses, you then go, blimey, if I want to put him in, he's too far behind where he wants to be. That's why we was going to have a friendly, so that people like him and Ottaway are training really well, can have those 80 minutes in a friendly to get them up to speed. And we had to cancel a friendly because we didn't have enough players.
Yes.
And the B team had a league game, a cup game that evening. So... yeah, it's tough right now, but listen, it's what a great position to be in. But if I look back and I think about, where we were, we was going into not only, we was going into the playoffs, weren't we? Not even, 2 months ago. And also what we need to remember as a club and supporters, and I'm sure we know, is that we was unable. Obviously, we're renowned for doing, recruiting and being clever. We was unable for the first time ever to recruit or even understand our own contractual situation with the existing players because we didn't know what league we're going to be in. And of course, at this one step, it's either regional or national. So we couldn't have any conversations. Then on top of that, the season finished the latest it's ever finished since I've been involved in football. What was it, last week of May or something?
Yeah, would have
right?
been, latter part of May.
So we had 4 weeks to not rebuild and 4 weeks to sort of take stock of it. So everything's been challenging from that point, and then we went to close season. Jimmy gets injured. Barry Fuller, we forget that he's played one game, and he shouldn't have played that game against Wrexham. He hasn't really trained. So we've been up against it, to be honest with you, but we do need to look at that, mate, because it can't just be us. It feels like just us that gets this many problems.
Well, there's a sort of parallels to the start of last season, wasn't there? And I know we got there, didn't we, through the course of the season? We addressed the kind of strength and conditioning side.
Yeah.
But I guess it's just, again, something that you're looking at, and
I think
in the background, just to see if there's anything beyond that, any more we can do. Yeah.
I think if you shortlisted it, on that shortlist, you might have the fact that you're part-time playing, really in high intensity football, and then when you train, your sort of recovery can't be as good because the recovery is sort of like working next day or whatever. Yeah. Not able to get in the gym like a lot of clubs, and so there's clearly got to be a little bit of that to it. I think for sure. Worried going into this weekend with 2 games. We're starting the weekend, I think, with 13 players. So very worried about going into this weekend. But we just have to tell ourselves that we won't be defined by this period. We've got to enjoy these moments, going to Halifax, these iconic clubs, and back to Barnet on Tuesday. Got to enjoy it, and we've got to, there's going to be a good time around the corner. That's what football does to you. It gives you a moment when you least expect it, and we've got to hang out for that,
Yeah, very much so. I feel we got bogged down with the injuries. We've got to be positive, and there were positives last week. Obviously not ideal, but Barry did get some minutes. Dan Quick as well. Good to see him obviously come on late, and of course fresh off the presses today, Alfie Egan has signed and joined us. Brilliant. He's obviously good to go for Saturday as well. So how did it come about with Alfie then, getting him? Because obviously he only just joined Boreham Wood in the summer, didn't he? So how's that one come about?
I mean, they've had a great start, and he wasn't really playing, and he didn't feel like maybe the sort of the way they play would be as suited to him as he thought. But credit to Luke and what he does there. Like, he's got a fantastic team, and to be applauded really. But he's an out-and-out ball player, and I know that he'll fit into our team. We're not going to change our principle to how we play. We're not going to sell out in a million years. We're not going to bottle it. We're just going to make sure we recruit where we need to recruit. And Alfie is essentially a step up, if you like, in terms of the way he plays. Great quality. I kind of put him as a bit of a mixture of like Fogden and Moore, really. Like, he's got that attacking phase in him that we need, but he can sort of drop a bit deeper and touch and play. So he'll be a great addition. And then if you look to us having a fully fit squad, and you start to piece together Josh Taylor and McManus and McShane and Egan and Moore and all these boys, because actually, what I would say is, and Jeb, of course, and what I would say is that, barring we had a couple of slow starts, Chesterfield, Solihull, both really slow starts, but the other matches we played, we've statistically and physically won the midfield battle. Like, I've been sort of piecing it together, thinking, well, let's just have a look at these differences, and our midfield has won the majority of battles it's been in this year across 90 minutes, and that includes Boreham Wood and Wrexham. If you look at the stats, our issue's been both boxes. So bringing in quality to what I think is a quality midfield, and then we just need to start looking around the edges at what's what. That's where we are, really.
That's it. And so just finally, Marc, we've got these 2 games obviously coming up in quick succession. So Halifax away on Saturday, big away day, and then obviously Barnet the following Tuesday. So just to finish by just having a look at those and what you're expecting from those challenges respectively. And what those teams
they'll be looking at us going. They'll be looking at us thinking, we can see more goals than than anybody. And listen, they'd be right. Do you know what I mean? That's how it is. But if they know their history, they wouldn't be writing us off. That's for sure. And we're doing a lot of things well. It's going to be hard to do things as well with the amount of players we've got fit. It's going to be really hard. And these teams will see this as an opportunity at home to get 3 points. We need to be brutal about that. But this team this year, Dorking Wanderers, we will beat big sides, and we'll beat them home and away when we get up and running. There'll be 1 or 2 additions, I think, that we'll add in. in the next 4-6 weeks, if we can, because we're only going to add in flagship signings. We're not gonna add in much for muchness. We love keeping our boys. We love the boys, that we've got. The mentality would add in significant improvements only, like Egan. So yeah, it's going to be a long season, but it's not a good spell for us.
No, still early days, of course. Yeah. We've had these 3 games. We look forward to the next 2 and the coming week. Thanks for your time as always,
Cheers,
Marc.
Dan.
Much appreciated.
Number one.